This is the biggest video on my channel to date. I'm playing back-to-back days of 100-100 with a 100 big blind ante. It's the biggest game of my life, and I'm in for my own money for $25,000 on both days. The 7 deuce game is on for $300 a pop, and we're playing against friendly faces and enemies like Rampage, Randy 3Coin, Blez, Sashimi, and others. At the end of this video, I end up playing the biggest pot of my life, $82,000 versus my good buddy Rampage. Let's get right into the hands. First hand of the night, the $200 straddle is out. So screw 100-100. We're basically playing 100-200 at this point, and Jimmy D raises it up to $400. I decide to come in for a call here on the button with King 10 of hearts. Also could be 3-betting, but I want to see how these players are playing the game here. So I decide just to find the call here for $400, and we get interrupted by a quick break for a round of shots.
Cheers. Let's make this the best Monday of our lives.
All right, cheers.
After all that, we're going multi-way to the flop. A few other players finding the $400 call, and all the nerves go out the window on a King 9-7 with 2 heart board. Look at my hand, King 10 of hearts here. We have 78% chance to win this pot, and of course when it checks to me, I go for a $700 bet. Humboldt Mike is the only player to put in the call, and the turn comes the 7 of clubs. This should be a better card for him than myself, but I have the front door heart draw to go with my top pair, so when he checks it over to me, I have an interesting decision. Of course, betting makes a lot of sense. Checking behind here could also allow him to bluff on the river. If he had a 7, I don't want to bloat the pot unnecessarily until I find out if I make my flush or not. So all those reasons allow me to check here, and the river comes a brick. It's the deuce of clubs. There's $3,600 in the middle to fight for, and Humboldt Mike fires out for $1,600. Not much of a decision for me. I find the pretty quick call, and he points to my cards, letting me know that those are the winners. King 10 of hearts gonna take down a nice $6,800 pot, and you see how checking on that turn card allowed Mike to go for a bluff on the river. Alright, why is everybody wearing a completely different outfit? Well, that's the end of day 1. I ended up making a little bit of money. I'll tell you guys exactly how much at the end, but not many interesting hands to note, and not many that made the cut here at Poker Go. So we're off to day 2, and I promise you this day is absolutely insane. So buckle your seatbelts. First hand of day 2, I put the $200 straddle out there. I'm trying to subdue some of the nerves. Everyone knows that the poker gods love a straddle. $200 out there. I look down at Queen 9 of spades. Jimmy D calls, and the backer, aka Jared Blesnick, raises it up to $1,000. Came to play here on day 2. I'm already stuck $5,000 through some miscellaneous hands here, so I want to get some of that back. I put in the call. The flop gives us top pair and a backdoor spade draw on a 9-4-3 with 1 spade board. I check it over to Jared, and he goes for a half pot size bet of $1,200. There's $5,000 in the middle, and the turn comes the jack of diamonds. I check it over to the backer once again, and he now goes for a $2,000 bet. If we think about his value to bluff range, well, I think there's a lot more value. Pocket 10s, pocket queens, kings, aces, jacks, ace jack, king jack, all make a lot of sense. Additionally, you can have hands like king queen of clubs, diamonds, stuff like that. So even if he has 2 overcards, he's in pretty good shape against my hand. Some of his bluffs might be some diamond draws like ace 5 of diamonds, or maybe queen 10 of diamonds, queen 10 of clubs, something like that. So ultimately, I decide to fold my second pair, but when the cards are revealed to us now, we can see 10-6 of hearts was an inferior hand. Some of us, like Jared, aka the backer, are used to playing 100-100, and some of us, like myself, are not. But that being said, I think I made a decent fold in the long run. If you guys were in my spot, I'd be curious to know how many of you would have put $2,000 in on the turn. All right, next hand of note, there is a raise to $500, a call from Sashimi, and I am in the big blind with pocket 10s, a great hand here, and of course I'm going to come in for a 3-bet, and I'm going to go large to $2,700. When the action comes back around to Sashimi, she decides to put in the call. So she called the 500, now she's calling my raise to $2,700, and the flop comes King 8 deuce with 2 diamonds. Odd position against Sashimi is not great. There's an overcard out there. She could of course have some diamond draws, but I think there's a lot of kings in her range from the button when she just calls and calls. That makes a lot of sense, along with some pocket pairs like pocket 8s, pocket deuces, and a lot of middling pocket pairs as well. I go for a small bet here of $2,000. I should get a lot of information. I think a lot of the time she just folds, a lot of the time she just calls, but what I don't expect her to do is shove all in For $10,300, it's $8,300 more for me to call, and it represents pretty much all of my stack. There's $18,500 in the middle and another $8,300 for me to call, so this pot could get up large to $27,000, which would be the biggest pot of my life.
What a spot
You thinking?
for Wolfgang.
No, I'm not thinking, but I'm not putting money in. Of course I'm thinking.
It's a tough spot because I have pocket tens, which is second pair, but any king beats me, any diamond draw we're pretty much flipping against, and if she has a set, well, we're in tough shape. So ultimately I decide to fold my cards, and Sashimi turns over ace deuce of diamonds. So the equities were pretty much 50-50. It was a bad fold in the long run because a lot of my money was already out there, but with another $8,300 for me to call, I decided to fold, and unfortunately Sashimi showed me kind of a worse hand. So we have played a bunch of hands together, and I expected her to give me a bunch of respect there, but shoving with bottom pair and the nut flush draw makes a lot of sense from her, and ultimately it won her the pot. If it wasn't already obvious, you can tell I'm playing a little bit scared money. I wish I could go back and tell myself to play a little bit more carefree, but $25,000 is a lot of money to me, and yes, I do well on YouTube, but I don't have unlimited rebuys, so I'm definitely taking a shot here for the content, and in a way, it's definitely showing. So hopefully pocket aces here will be a welcome sight. I think I know how to play these properly. I'm on the dealer button, and there's a raise to $400 from my good buddy Rampage. I'm gonna come in for a 3-bet here with the best hand ever created, $1,200, and Randy finds himself in the small blind with a good enough hand to 4-bet to $3,100. The action folds back around to Rampage, and if I somehow folded here, he would have to spin the wheel, which means he might have to take a shot of hot sauce, or he might get some free money from everyone at the table. But of course, I'm not folding pocket aces. The only decision here is if I 5-bet jam, which is pretty much only aces, kings, and queens, and maybe ace king suited, or do I just call here and allow Randy to have some rope to continue betting on flop and turn?
Wolfgang knows that Sadler's got a huge hand with that cold 4-bet.
I decide just to call here, and the flop comes pretty harmless, 5-4-4, and he goes for a bet here, a large one at that, for $5,000. I have 10.6K in my stack. I could just rip it in here, but if he has any bluffs in his range, I think calling is the only option. It shouldn't be hard to get the additional 5.6K in the middle, so when I call, the pot has now ballooned up to $16,800, and the turn comes the jack of clubs. Is that a good card for us, or is that an absolute disaster? Does he have pocket jacks and just turn jacks full? Well, he's looking at his hat, he checks the brim, and ultimately taps the table. That's a check. So when the jack of clubs comes, Randy slows down and checks. What do I make of this? Well, he could have jacks full, he could have pocket queens or kings. That would be pretty good. I hope he doesn't have jacks full. I decided to check behind here. It shouldn't be hard to get the rest of the money in the middle. When the river card comes the 4 of spades, hoping Randy does the work for us, and he does. He rips it all in. I check my cards and snap call with the bullets. He turns over pocket kings.
All in and a call, and Randy will see the bad news.
Oh.
Wow.
See, you're a gentleman too, like me. That's
Of course he is.
He shakes his hand right away.
Randy Sadler for you.
So what a cooler there. We could have got it in pre and saved everyone all that time, but in case he had queens, tens, nines, something like that, I wanted him to bet on flop, turn, and river. Sure enough, we get all the money in the middle, $28,000 coming over my way, and just like that, we go from being a big loser in the game to up $3,000, and it feels pretty great to be raking in a massive pot. This next hand's a fun one. I've definitely settled into the game here. Some of the nerves have gone away. There's a raise to 400 from the backer, and Ethan finds the call. I'm in the small blind with my favorite hand, pocket sevens, and I call as well. That means we're taking it to the streets here, 3 ways on a Jack 10-8 board. When Rampage checks behind on the flop, the turn comes the deuce of diamonds, and I check it once again. The action checks through on the turn. I don't really think anyone has much, being top pair, 2 pair, something like that. So when the 5 of hearts comes on the river, I debate betting out for value, trying to get called by some ace and king highs, but instead I check. The action's on the backer now, and he looks like he has similar ideas. He fires out small here for $1,500, and Rampage does not even think. He just tosses in $1,500. The action's on me. Do I think my pocket sevens are good here? Well, maybe some of the time. The backer could be bluffing, but when Ethan calls, I think he definitely has a 10 or an 8. I don't think either of my opponents have a jack, so So if I come in for a raise here, this could put a lot of pressure on a 10 or an 8. Does it make a lot of sense? Not really, unless I have pocket 5s. Everything else probably would just call or fold. So even though I'm confident that no one has a great hand, I'm representing a very narrow range, so I wouldn't try this at home if I was you guys. But that being said, I make it $5,200 to go.
And Wolfgang,
Stuffing?
what
Sub.
a play.
It's a check raise river bluff versus a bet and a call. I see a lot of money laying on the ground there, and I want to pick it up. I'm trying to make up for a lot of my passive play earlier on, not calling the all-in from sashimi with my pocket 10s. Blaze quickly folds queen 3 of hearts, so sure enough, he had absolutely nothing. The action's on Ethan, and let's see what he has. Ace 10 offsuit. So just like I deduced, he has second pair great kicker. There's $10,000 in the middle. Finding the fold and pocket 7s are going to take down a nice one there with a check raise river bluff. Remember in the intro I said we're playing the 7 deuce game for $300 a pop? Well, I turn over one of the 7s and I try to milk the table for an additional $100. Unfortunately, no one pays me the bounty and I turn over the other 7. And look at Ethan's face. He knows he made a big mistake and should have put more money in the middle. Part of the fun of this show is the element of the Wheel of Pain. My good buddy Ethan made a bad fold and a few hands later finds himself in a tough situation where he has to spin the wheel and ultimately gets the hot sauce. And if I know Ethan pretty well by now, he does not like hot sauce, and I'm kind of in the same boat. Hopefully I don't get the same luck as him if I ever have to spin that wheel.
My words are that I'm never coming back here ever again.
Finally a card of deuces. Oh. The hot sauce is gonna put Ethan on tilt.
It's a little bit of foreshadowing. I do end up spinning the wheel, but let's play this hand first. I pick up pocket jacks. There's already a raise and a 3-bet ahead of me. I think a 4-bet should be incoming, and I make it $1,800 to go. That clears out everybody until it comes back around to Sashimi, who 5-bet shoves for $14,000. What are you doing? What range are you representing here? I think this is just queens, kings, aces, and ace king. Rampage looks like he's in a tough spot. I'm putting him on king queen, ace queen, ace 10, something like that. Good enough to 3-bet, but has to fold to a 5-bet shove, and he ultimately does fold ace queen offsuit. Action's back around to me. I've already made one decent sized fold to Sashimi. Will I make a second one? This one I think is a lot more clear. Jacks is a pretty tough situation. I'm either flipping versus a hand like ace king suited or offsuit, or I'm absolutely smoked 80-20 versus queens, kings, and aces. So I make what I think is the right decision and fold to the 5-bet shove. After all, I'm playing pretty snug, so my 4-bet is already very strong. And when I fold, Sashimi does not show, but we can now see she had ace king offsuit. So both times I folded to Sashimi in this vlog, I was flipping against her, and even though it would have been for a lot of money, I still think one of those times I should have put money in the middle. It's just tough when you don't think you're in a great spot here, where at best you're flipping, but I'm gonna have to spin the wheel for my bad decision there.
I would not like 500 from everybody.
There you
I don't
go.
think that's how it works, Marcus. Is that how it works?
Can't reverse psychology with the wheel.
Definitely doesn't.
And of course, I get punished with the hot sauce, or in this situation, it's pretty much hot sauce paste.
I'm so happy.
Oh
No! Oh,
what
no!
an unbelievable pour.
I'm really excited. It's kind of like a full circle moment for me. I was just here last week playing a tournament, but I've never played a super high stakes cash game here at the Poker Go studio. So definitely a really cool moment. Started my vlog 4 years ago, and to be playing 100 plus 100 big blind ante is absolutely absurd. I sold no action, it's all me.
All right, and now, ladies and gentlemen, if you've made it this far, this is the best hand of the night, and quite frankly, the best hand of my life. So if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. If you've been watching my videos and haven't hit the subscribe button, now is your chance to do it. I'm playing the biggest pot of my life, and I want you guys on the rest of my poker journey. Appreciate everyone's support so far. Let's get into it here. Pocket 8, there's a straddle to 200. Ethan opens it up to 600, and I decide to call from the button. We haven't seen very much of Randy, aka 3Coin. He finds himself getting after it here in the small blind and makes it $1,600 to go. Ethan puts in the call, and a great spot for me to close the action with a pocket pair. I put in the call, And look at this flop. 8-6-6, bang, we flop 8s full.
Not a bad flop for Wolfgang.
A full house here in the biggest game of my life, and I have $38,000 in my stack. Oh man, this is gonna get crazy. It's awesome that we have position on both opponents because we get to see what they do first, and you best believe I'm not checking behind here if it comes to me. I gotta put money in the middle, but Randy Sadler has never been shy in putting money in the middle, and he doesn't slow down here. $1,600, and Ethan finds the call. Decision point number 1, do we raise or just call? Well, when you have a lot of the board locked up, I like the idea of just calling here. Additionally, I'll be in position the rest of the way, so that's why I put 1,600 and not a penny more in the middle. The turn comes the 5 of hearts. Really shouldn't change anything. Hopefully someone has a straight or pocket 5s or a 6x type of hand. There's $10,000 in the middle, and unfortunately Randy slows down and checks. The news gets a little bit worse when Ethan checks it over to myself, but how are we gonna play the biggest pot of our life if I don't bet here on the turn? That's right, into the $10,000 pot comes a Cinco de Mayo, the largest one of my life, $5,500. Yes, if you guys have followed the channel for a while, I normally do $55 for Cinco de Mayo, sometimes $550, but never $5,500. Randy doesn't like the holiday. He folds his cards, actions back over to Ethan. When he doesn't take his fist off of his cheek, I know something is up. He's definitely not folding, and hopefully he's not calling. And sure enough, Ethan goes for the sneaky check raise here.
It's 4th down. Are we going to go for it or just punt?
He doesn't punt anymore. It's a new Rampage. Oh no.
You were saying, Jeff?
And bumps it up north to $14,000, nearly 3 times my bet. All I'm thinking about here is Vegas and the Mirage. We are in Vegas. A $29,000 pot has already ballooned up here on the turn, and if I put in the call here, this will be the largest pot of my life already, with around $24,000 to $25,000 behind. Now let's keep in mind who my opponent is. Sure, Ethan and I have played a lot of hands. He knows I play pretty straightforward. When he's check raising here, he could have some bluffs though, because he knows that I am capable of folding some pretty decently strong hands. That being said here, when I'm holding essentially the nuts, 8s full of 6s, I'm going absolutely nowhere, and Ethan, my friend, you are in for a rude awakening. I put in the call, and we're gonna go off to a river in a $38,000 pot. There's $22,500 behind, and the river puts a 4-liner to the straight out there. It comes the 7 of spades. It doesn't take long before Ethan tosses in 3 cranberries. Each one of those chips is one of my starting stacks, $25,000.
Oh no. Oh, Rampage said all of it.
Wow.
I put in the call, and I'm playing the largest pot of my life, $83,000, and it's coming my way when he mucks his cards face down. And mucks is a loose term there. He pretty much throws his cards in the middle. I've never seen him like this before, but an 83K pot will do that to you. 7-5 offsuit, ends up with 2 pair on the river, but there was a pair of 6s on the board. He tried to get me off a stronger hand. It didn't work because I had pretty much the nuts on this board. Nice hand, Ethan. Thank you for making this video an absolute banger and the biggest pot of my life. What a dream situation. Look at my face, and I tell the cameras to zoom in on my neck because my pulse is going through the roof.
Gang poker.
Now, I'm not saying I play for the home team, but, you know, the Buffalo Bills,
the Buffalo,
Wolfgang,
the
it's,
Buffalo.
you know, it's kind of my guy out there.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, No Gamble, No Future was a massive success. Day 1, we booked a profit of $9,500. On day 2, we booked the biggest win of our life, $52,900, for a grand total of $62,400 in 2 days. Huge shout out to everyone over at Poker Go, Brent, Jeff, and Remco, and the rest of the cast and crew. It was an awesome 2 days, one I will never forget, and a culmination of everything I've worked so hard for on the channel, and I appreciate everyone watching and supporting the videos. If you guys made it this far, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Good luck on the felt. I hope you run as good as I did in this video and book the biggest wins of your life, and I'll catch you as always in the next video. Peace!